we can no longer hear commentary about him being cool, calm, collected, and unemotional. For the rest of the race over the radio, after the race on the radio, the way he behaved in the actual cooldown room, and the way that he behaved on the podium and the post-race press conference, everything about that was incredibly emotional. None of it was calm, cool, or collected. And I think we're kind of seeing the way he deals with something that he feels is unfair. And I think when you look at both of the McLaren drivers, they've both had moments of weakness like this. Lando has just been, I think, more heavily criticized for it and more openly spoken about his emotions and therefore branded the emotional one. Versus, I think the bigger thing with Oscar here and the way that he behaved post race is that I think Oscar's lack of emotion, or branded as such, has been looked at as something that makes him better than Lando when it comes to championship mentality. And I think today we saw that that's just not there. There is not this constant idea of him having no emotions. I think he has lacked a lot of display of emotions. And then I think that display lacking has actually been more when things are going his way. When he's winning races, we don't see large celebrations. We see some awkwardness and things like that. And I think we've seen so many people, especially people who feel like masculinity should not come with emotion, say that Oscar's lack of emotion and calm level headedness have made him better championship material than Lando, who expresses his emotions perhaps a little bit more openly, or maybe just in a way that I guess is not necessarily super comfortable or familiar to people. I think actually both of them, especially after today, have had these moments where the way they've expressed their emotions hasn't necessarily been the most professional, and that some of it sometimes shows how young they both are. But I think the bigger conversation is whether or not we just let these people be a little human, and whether or not we keep propping Oscar up as though his lack of emotion makes him a better championship driver than Lando. Because I think that has been, for me personally, the frustration in this conversation about emotion. This idea that not expressing your emotions is better. And honestly, the number of DMs that I've received from men calling Lando too soft to be a champion every time he says something interesting. I just think there's like a lot of weird energy surrounding this idea of emotion between both of these drivers. And I think for me, this kind of ended the conversation. Oscar is having a moment where he's feeling just as openly wounded as Lando has previously, and he's reacting to it in a way that is not necessarily the most professional or calm and level headed. And so I think we have to stop saying that he's so much more of a champion than Lando is because he doesn't express emotions that are negative. Because clearly he does. Clearly today he had a tough time kind of getting through it. And we heard a lot of conversation from him about the idea that he deserved a different outcome today.